Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt that eerie silence in your soul, like the calm before a storm? A moment when life seems suspended yet deep within, you know something profound is stirring. You're not broken, you're being summoned. Let's say it plainly, you're not ready. And somewhere deep down, you already know that. This isn't a judgment, it's a quiet truth that's been echoing inside you for a long time. That emptiness you feel, the strange discomfort that creeps in, even when things appear to be going well, it's not meaningless. It's not just anxiety. It's a signal, a warning, a sacred nudge. It's the universe sharpening the blade before placing it in your hand. Ever notice how just before your biggest breakthroughs, your world seems to collapse? Relationships end. Your health declines. Motivation disappears. Everything you've built starts crumbling. It feels like regression, like failure. But in truth, you're being stripped of everything you are not. This isn't punishment. It's initiation. And here's where most get it wrong. The universe doesn't gift unrefined souls. It doesn't hand over power, peace, or purpose to someone who hasn't undergone the fire of transformation. This transformation can't be faked. You can't just wish for something. You have to become someone who can hold it, carry it, live it. Carl Jung knew this well. He said the unconscious grows tired of waiting. And when it's time for change, it doesn't politely ask. It tears through your life like a storm, because that's how the soul reclaims itself. That breakup, that job loss, that betrayal. These weren't random acts of cruelty. They were spiritual surgeries. They were severing what was rotting, removing what was false. You called it unfair, but in truth, it was freedom. The biggest wall between you and the life you crave isn't the system. It's not society. It's not other people. It's the outdated version of you that's clinging to comfort. The you that wants growth without surrender, change without risk, evolution without death. Yes, death, because for anything new to be born, something old must die. Often it's your ego. That protective voice inside you once your shield is now your cage. The ego doesn't want truth. It wants safety. It wants to maintain what is familiar, even if it's stifling you. And when the soul demands growth, the ego resists. That resistance is what we call suffering. But here's the revelation. Suffering isn't the enemy. It's the signal, the rupture, the birth canal between the old and the new. It's the pressure required to shatter the shell of who you were. That silence you've been feeling lately, that emptiness, it's not abandonment. It's the pause between collapse and creation. It's the fertile soil after the wildfire. And in that soil, you will plant something stronger than ever if you choose wisely. This moment right here is sacred. It's the threshold. The space between who you've been and who you're becoming. This is where your real choice lies. Will you repeat the old pattern or become something radically new? Ask yourself, what patterns are you still trapped in? What fears are still dictating your steps? What control haven't you surrendered yet? These are the questions the universe presents when it's preparing you for something extraordinary. If you don't answer them honestly, what you desire won't arrive, not because you're unworthy, but because you wouldn't be able to hold it without collapsing. Life doesn't give you what you ask for. It gives you what you are. And to become what you long for, you must face everything standing in the way. That's why the tests come, not as punishment, but as training. Every betrayal, a lesson in boundaries. Every failure, a chance to choose differently. Every loss, a reminder that the only permanence lies within. While you thought the universe had abandoned you, it was watching closely. Watching how you choose when no one is looking. Watching whether you act from your wounds or your wisdom from fear or from love. And that's the real test, not how you behave when life is smooth, but how you respond when life breaks you open. The universe doesn't reward the strongest, the smartest, or the most charming. It rewards the most coherent, the most true, the one who dares to live from their inner knowing, even in silence, especially in silence. Because real transformation doesn't need applause. It doesn't need permission. It gestates in the dark, in solitude and surrender. And when it arrives, it doesn't beg to be seen, it is. So if you're in the void right now, where nothing makes sense, where life feels paused, don't run, don't distract yourself, don't misinterpret it. You might be standing in the center of your answered prayer, just not yet prepared to hold it. And here lies the real challenge. How do you move when the universe goes quiet? What do you choose when no one is watching? Who are you when the applause fades? The world is full of people who want to change their lives. Few are willing to change themselves. They want a new chapter, but refuse to close the last one. They dream of the extraordinary, but cling to the familiar. But change doesn't come to those who seek it. It comes to those who become it. The alchemy begins when you stop seeking outside what can only be built within. It begins when you decide your peace is more precious than approval. When you accept that what happens to you is not personal, it's universal. We all pass through this fire. Few stay long enough to be reborn. Will you stay? Will you allow the old you to burn away so that something more real, more grounded, more you can emerge? If you do, the universe will notice, and then you won't need to chase change. Change will come to you as the natural outcome of who you've become. And here's the final paradox: the moment you no longer need it to come, that's when it comes. Because you'll have become someone who no longer depends on outcomes, but moves with the rhythm of truth. And that is what the universe has been waiting for all along. You've made it this far. After facing the silence, the stillness, the fire of transformation, now comes the moment of truth. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. But preparation doesn't end at suffering. It leads to something deeper, more unsettling, something most people never stop to confront: the difference between being tested and being revealed. Because there is a distinction. Being tested feels like pressure, like challenge. But being revealed, that's when the mask comes off. That's when all the pain, all the discomfort doesn't just shape you, it uncovers you. You're not being rebuilt from the outside in. You're being stripped down so that what was always there but buried finally comes to light. And that's where many lose their way. They confuse revelation with destruction. They think they're breaking apart when in truth, they're breaking open. What comes out of you under pressure was already inside: the anxiety, the need for approval, the arrogance masked as confidence, the dependency, the self-doubt, the hidden rage. All of it. It didn't arrive during the storm, it was simply hiding before it. That's what pressure does. It doesn't create the cracks, it reveals them. And once those cracks are exposed, you can't pretend anymore. You can't cling to polished self-images or hollow affirmations. You either confront them or hide behind comforting illusions like everything happens for a reason, without ever grasping what that really means. But here's the twist, one of the most powerful truths you'll encounter on this path. Life doesn't test your strength, it cleans your vision. You don't need to be tougher. You need to see clearer. See what behaviors you've been repeating on autopilot. See what beliefs about yourself have clung to you since childhood. See what roles you've been performing just to be accepted, just to survive. And this is where your shadow enters. The parts of you you silenced to fit in. The truths you buried to be loved. The pieces you hid away because someone told you they were too much or not enough. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That's what this is. Every trial, every collapse, every silence, it's not to destroy you, it's to light up the places you've refused to see. You wonder why people stay stuck even when life screams at them to change. It's because the familiar pain feels safer than the unknown healing. The ego would rather cling to its wound than leap into something it can't control. But healing never happens in the known. Growth requires letting go. Letting go isn't giving up. It's trusting. It's whispering to life, "I don't have control, but I trust there's meaning here, even if I can't see it yet." And that trust, it's not naive optimism. It's the kind of faith that comes only when you look back and realize that everything you lost, you were meant to lose. That every ending was an invitation. That every silence was an appointment with the deeper part of you. Because true awakening is not a lightning bolt moment. Sometimes it's a quiet breakdown in traffic, a sudden ache in the middle of a normal day. That deep whisper, "I can't keep pretending." It's raw, it's real, and that's the point. The universe doesn't want to entertain you with easy answers. It wants to awaken you with the truth that what you're chasing is already inside, but hidden under layers of fear, control, pride, and self-deception. You want a new reality, then trade in your current version of yourself. Not because it's wrong, but because it's incomplete. It was shaped in survival, not in truth. The ego survives, the soul lives, and as long as you keep choosing from fear, avoiding pain, avoiding uncertainty, you'll keep surviving instead of living. The shift happens when you choose from your truth, even without guarantees, even without applause. When you make choices not for safety, but for inner alignment. That's when life begins, not just outwardly, but inwardly. So what's the most powerful thing you can do in the face of your next test? Don't resist. Don't run. Don't numb it away. Just listen. Every challenge holds a message not written in words, but etched in your pain. What triggers you most is what you most need to examine. What scares you most is exactly what you need to walk toward. Pain isn't the problem. Misreading it is. When you see difficulties as punishments, you miss their gift. Because the universe isn't trying to break you, it's trying to strip away everything that isn't truly you, and not to make you stronger, but more honest, more real. Because that's where true power is born, not in performance, not in pretending, but in raw, radiant truth. Power that doesn't need to shout because it simply is. And once you touch that space within you, once you allow what's always been hidden to finally emerge, you won't have to force your transformation. You'll simply stop standing in its way. So the question now is not, will life change? The question is, will you allow it? Because the universe doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you are. And it's always been a mirror. The moment you choose truth over fear, authenticity over performance, that's when the mirror reflects back a new world. So, do you want to keep going? Because the deeper we go, the more illusions fall away. And that next layer, it's the most uncomfortable of all. Let's talk about the fear of success, not the fear of failure, the fear of finally becoming everything you were meant to be. So here you are standing at the edge. After all the inner awakenings, the uncomfortable truths, the unraveling of illusions, you've begun to see clearly. But now comes the next hurdle, perhaps the most dangerous one of all, the trap of infinite preparation. You've said it before, I'm not ready yet. And maybe you've even believed it, but here's the reality. You'll never be fully ready to leap into the unknown. Because readiness as we imagine it is a myth. Real preparation doesn't happen before the jump, it activates in free fall. It ignites when there's no safety net left. Yes, the mind is built to protect, but sometimes that protection is a beautifully decorated prison. The mind doesn't aim for your happiness, it aims for your survival. And to the mind, safety is everything. Even if that safety looks like stagnation, fear, or the same painful cycle repeated over and over. So you delay. Better the devil, I know. Better to wait just a little longer. Better not to risk it now. And while you whisper those phrases to yourself, the universe waits. Silently, patiently, watching to see if you'll release the rope you cling to. Because until you let go, no miracle can touch you. That's the brutality of inner transformation. It's not measured by intention, but by action. It's not defined by what you long for, but by what you're willing to leave behind. Here's the truth. You can't keep your old identity and expect a new life. You can't demand a different reality without releasing the character you have been playing within the old one. And this is where self-sabotage becomes elegant, because it disguises itself as logic, caution, or responsibility. You think you're evolving, but you're dragging along an invisible suitcase full of your past limiting beliefs, reactive habits, the compulsion to control, the addiction to overthinking, the need to understand before trusting. And what happens when you carry all that into your future? You recreate the past. Different faces, new settings, but the same pattern. Again and again. So let's talk about cycles. Not calendar ones, but soul cycles. Those uncanny loops you've lived through, the same gone of relationship, the same fallout, the same internal war. Why does it repeat? Not because you're cursed, but because the lesson hasn't been integrated. You keep asking, why is this happening to me? But the real question is, why is this happening again? Until you respond differently, life repeats the test. Because life is not governed by time, it's governed by awareness. And where there's no awareness, there's repetition. But once you awaken, even a little, something shifts permanently. You can't unsee, you can't unfelt, you can't unknow. Even if you try to go back to your old ways, they feel strange now. The comfort is gone. You don't fit where you used to because you've changed. And that's both beautiful and agonizing. Because no one warns you that the cost of waking up is constant discomfort. You start craving truth like oxygen. You can't tolerate lies, especially the ones you tell yourself. And then comes the grieving. Not for a person or a job, but for an identity. For the version of you that you've outgrown. For the image you so carefully constructed to survive. The mask you wore to be accepted, loved, or just to feel okay. Now you must let that version die. Not just the behaviors, but the entire narrative. The stories you told to avoid pain. The pride you clung to as protection. The strength you projected that was really fear in disguise. And yes, it hurts. It hurts to look back and see that much of your life was lived through survival patterns, not through truth. But that pain, it's medicine. The more honestly you face your illusions, the more room you make for what's real. And in that raw, exposed place where the ego steps aside is where the universe begins to move. Not because you've become perfect, but because you've become real. And when that shift happens, something changes inside. You stop begging for signs. You stop needing confirmation. Because now you know, not intellectually but intuitively, deep in your body, in your breath. You've become someone who no longer requires guarantees, someone who listens to their intuition without debate, someone who finally trusts the step even if they can't see the entire staircase. And maybe that's the biggest transformation of all. To stop hunting for certainty and start living from presence, from surrender, from conscious surrender, not as a sign of defeat, but of wisdom. Because true surrender is not giving up. It's aligning, adapting, evolving. And that's when the universe responds. Not to your desire, but to your frequency. When your energy is no longer fragmented, when what you want and what you do are no longer at odds, then life begins to mirror you. Then clarity comes, because coherence is magnetic. So here you are, standing on the edge of who you've been and who you're becoming. The question isn't, will you make it? The question is, will you dare to let go of who you were to become who you truly are? And now as you peer over that edge into the unknown, into your most authentic future, there's only one decision left: jump, or keep collecting beautifully constructed excuses. Because the hardest part isn't the transformation. It's stopping the excuses for why you haven't done it yet. You've told yourself you'll wait until tomorrow, until you're more healed, more stable, less afraid. But the moment is now. It's always been now. That's the only time change is real, in the present. And no, I'm not talking about reckless action or fake hype. I'm talking about that silent moment when your soul says enough. Enough chasing approval, enough shrinking for comfort, enough performing healing while avoiding truth, enough hiding behind logic. When that enough comes, it's not loud, it's felt. And when you feel it, you know, you align. And suddenly there's no need for more reasons. You just move. And in that movement, what was unclear becomes clear. The path appears after the step, not before it. So stop asking for the sign. You are the sign. When you stop negotiating with your soul, when you stop asking for permission to be who you are, when you show the universe your truth, not with words, but with action, that's when the mirror reflects something new. And now the closing. What you want already exists. It's not a fantasy. It's a timeline, a version of you that already chose differently. Who stopped looping? Who didn't wait? Who stopped doubting? Who didn't need to prove only to be? That version of you is alive. Do you want it? Then act like her, speak like her, choose like her, stand like her. Because the secret isn't in forcing the future. It's in becoming the person who makes that future inevitable. So do it. Not out of pressure, not out of fear, not to impress anyone. Do it for the part of you that knows you weren't born to survive. You were born to burn, to blaze, to embody, to be so authentically yourself that the world can't help but notice. And now one final call. If this resonated, if something deep within you stirred, declare it. Head to the comments and write, I am ready to become who I've always been. Not for others, for you. To mark the moment, to claim the shift. Because if you've made it this far, the change has already begun. And if you feel called, subscribe. Not to follow someone, but to keep following the truth within yourself. This isn't about ego, it's about awakening. And so I leave you not with a goodbye, but with a warning. The next time life seems to fall apart, pause. Don't run, breathe, watch. Because that might not be your ending. It might be the exact beginning of your real story. See you on the side where you don't fake. Don't run, don't wait, you live. And the universe, it's already watching.